Donald Trump just gave the most incoherent, deranged press conference, and it was so satisfying, so refreshing to finally hear the news media en masse call for him to withdraw from the race, just like they did with Joe Biden, because he's so clearly and obviously mentally incapacitated. Just kidding. Here's what really happened.
Donald Trump spoke at his home in Florida for over an hour, and all of the cable news networks, including this one, carried it live, just like they all did repeatedly in 2016. It would be hard to find a sentence in what Donald Trump said today that did not include at least one lie.
And what was in that press conference? Here's a sample.
I had bigger crowds than Martin Luther King. He gave a good speech. I actually dodged bullets. So, I have bigger crowds and I dodge bullets better than Malcolm Lewis King.
Just kidding again. That was actually comedian J.L. Coven doing his Trump impression, but he really didn't have to bend reality much.
The biggest crowd I've ever spoken, I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people, if not, we had more.
Among his other lies and ramblings were claiming that January 6th and the 2021 transfer of power was peaceful. He should be able to take over the Federal Reserve, not understanding a question about the abortion pill and whether he would ban it, but suggesting that he would, and not knowing anything about Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz, other than he's into lots of different worlds having to do with safety. And because the news media provided absolutely no fact-checking or pushback to any of this,
no network even attempted to fact-check every lie Donald Trump told. Every network has the capacity, especially with these wide screens we now have at home, to run a live scroll at the side of the screen, fact-checking many of Donald Trump's lies. Not all of them, that would be impossible, but many of them as he speaks.
It was left to the Harris campaign, which they did in delightfully direct English, pointing out things like Minnesota and Virginia are not the same. There's a difference between asylum seekers and an insane asylum, and everyone did not want Roe v. Wade overturned. O'Donnell's conclusion is that this is about the media making the same mistakes we've seen before.
It's 2016 all over again. The same mistakes are being made. I have never seen an industry slower at learning from its own stupid mistakes than the American news business. And you cannot expect them in the next 89 days to figure out what they haven't been able to figure out in 9 years, how to cover a Trump for president campaign.
True, but it's actually much worse than that. While the cable networks are giving Trump millions of dollars worth of free airtime, no, seriously, think about how much 30-second ads cost. An hour of airtime literally is worth millions of dollars. The mainstream media outlets are giving him soft-pedaled headlines like this gem from the New York Times, where their main takeaway was that Trump and Harris agreed to a September debate, or this euphemism from the Washington Post that Trump had held a meandering news conference. And again, look, he's agreed to debate. In other words, it's like that Far Side cartoon where a dog couldn't care less about a nuclear bomb going off because all he cares about is seeing another dog. The media sees this nuclear meltdown of a press conference, and all they take away is there's gonna be a debate that we can televise and cover and make money off of. Cool. The worst of the worst is the Wall Street Journal. What they should be worried about is, oh my gosh, our political party has nominated a deranged lunatic who might become president. What they're actually worried about is, oh no, people might catch on to that fact and he might blow this for Republicans and they might not be able to get back into power and help our friends. What will we do? In fact, the morning after this press conference, just like the Times and the Post, they saw this whole train wreck and all they could take away was, wow, that was great. Why isn't Kamala Harris doing things like this that benefit us? We want more press conferences. The good news is that Kamala Harris is really smart and she's on to them. When asked by a member of the media when she would do a performance for them to serve their needs,
President, there's been a lot of questions about when you're going to sit down for your first interview since being the nominee.
And notice that ironically, she's being asked this in a press availability.
I've talked to my team. I want us to get an interview scheduled before the end of the month.
She said, I'll get back to you. So here's a hint to the media. When you start doing your jobs, Kamala Harris will start doing your press conferences.